we will now talk about the various types of nephrons. So we can see over here, this is the whole structure of nephron. We have already studied about it. Now if we look at this part of the kidney, if we take the section of the kidney, this is how the nephrons are arranged. This light colored part is generally the cortex portion. It is the outermost part. And this dark colored portion is the medulla portion of the kidneys. And this is the way in which the nephrons are arranged. So we have seen in the structure and we know that the Malpighian corpuscle, that is the glomerular network as well as the Bowman's capsule. Then the PCT and DCT of the nephron, they are situated in the cortical region of the kidney. We can see over here. So this portion, that is the Bowman's capsule as well as the glomerular network, then the PCT as well as the DCT of a nephron are present in the cortical portion. Whereas the loop of Henle, you can see over here, it is the one which dips into the medullary region. Now, depending upon the positioning of the nephrons as well as their working, the nephrons are of two main types. We can see over here, they are, number one, we can see, this is the cortical nephrons. So let's write the name over here. These ones are the cortical nephrons, the smaller ones, whereas these ones, the longer ones, are known as the juxtamedullary nephrons. So depending upon their function as well as their size and structure, the nephrons are of two types, the cortical nephrons as well as the juxtamedullary nephrons. Now we'll study about both of them in the manner of a difference so that we can understand both of them. Now the cortical nephrons, as you can see, the smaller ones, these ones, they are the majority of the nephrons. They are around 80 to 85% of the total nephrons. Whereas the longer ones, these ones which are known as the juxtamedullary nephrons, they form the comparatively lesser portion, and that is around only 15 to 20% of the total nephrons. Then the cortical nephrons, as we know, they are smaller in size. The juxtamedullary nephrons are larger in size. We can have a look over here and we can see that the cortical nephrons, they lie mainly in the renal cortex portion, and that is the reason the name cortical nephrons comes over here. We can see the majority of the nephron is present in the cortex region here, whereas this part, this dark part, is known as the medullary part. Whereas if we look about the juxtamedullary nephrons, here we can see that the Bowman's capsule and PCT, DCT, it lies in the cortical region. Here they are lying in the cortical region, but they are lying towards the junction of the cortex and medulla. So this is the cortex part and this is the medulla part. This portion, the Bowman's capsule, the PCT, DCT, is lying towards the junction of the cortex and medulla. And that is the reason from the junction word itself, the name juxtamedullary nephron has been kept. So juxta means junction, and because their Bowman's capsule, PCT, DCT is more towards the junction, that is the reason the name juxtamedullary nephron comes. Then for the cortical nephrons, if you can see over here, the loop of Henle is comparatively very short and it extends only little into the medullary region. Whereas if we look at the juxtaglomerular area, we see that the loop of Henle is comparatively very long and it extends very deep inside the medulla. So now let's talk about their functional role. So the cortical nephrons, they control the plasma volume when the water supply is normal, when the body is having a normal intake of water, right? And when everything is going normally, then the cortical nephrons are working. They control the plasma volume at that particular time. But when the body is deficient of water, that means when the water supply is either short or the body wants to conserve water, it is during that time that the plasma volume is controlled by the juxtamedullary nephrons. Then the glomeruli lie in the superficial region of the cortex in the cortical nephrons. So you can see over here, this portion, the upper portion of the cortex is known as the superficial area. So we can say the glomerular lies here in the superficial area of the cortex. Whereas if we look at the medullary nephron, the glomerular, it lies deep seated in the cortical area. So this is the cortex and this portion forms the deeper area of the cortex. The uppermost is superficial and the lowermost is the deeper area of cortex. So here the glomerular network will be present in the case of juxtamedullary nephrons. Then the blood supply in the case of the cortical nephrons is available only from the peritubular capillaries. We can see over here, though the peritubular capillary is not clearly given over here, but we'll have to note that the cortical nephrons, they get their blood supply from the peritubular capillaries. Whereas the blood supply in the case of juxtamedullary nephrons, it comes from the peritubular capillaries as well as their vasa recta is also very well developed and long. The vasa recta in the case of the cortical nephrons is either not there or is either very less developed. It is not very well developed. So these were the two types of nephrons, that is the cortical nephrons and juxtamedullary nephrons.
To buy these books, you can go to www.cengage.co.in or you can also find the links in the video description given below. Thank you.